was the complexity. Part of the reason we got into this, too, is that the various actors had so little or no stake in the ultimate success of the mortgage. It was like the game of musical chairs. The appraiser got a fee, the broker got a fee, the investment bank got a fee until the music stopped and somebody didn't have a chair. And in some sense, have you given any thought, and both Chairman Bernanke and Secretary Paulson, have you given any thought to creating a system where the seller determines the price but must retain a good fraction of the asset, live with the consequences, and indemnify the government if it was wrong on the high side?
Sorry, I thought you were talking about securitization. I thought you were talking about securitization processes. Are you talking about this operation?
Talking about when we buy these troubled assets, if there's a...
Yeah, no, we didn't give thought to that because I don't think that would be that would be a successful way to deal with something systemically.
Why not?
If we're dealing, because what we're looking to deal with is, as I said, the asset classes broadly and market-based solutions and reaching out to many institutions to do that. And so that is, I recognize that there are a lot of ideas, and I've heard a lot of them. We spent a lot of time over the last number of months talking through these issues. I've heard in the last couple of days all kinds of ideas that have come forward. And what we need to do here, I think, is move quickly and have some flexibility to we've got some very good ideas and I think some approaches we've spent a lot of time on, but we're going to have to spend time learning as we go along also.
If we subscribe to sort of the theory of the ownership society, which your administration kind of stands for, doesn't an idea like that, where there's some ownership of the asset by the seller to make the price perhaps more real and more fair to taxpayers, make some sense?
Well, again, I'll let the chairman respond from his standpoint. But given what we're trying to do to the system, and again, the fairness to taxpayers, I'm defining fairness to taxpayers as what is going to create the least cost to taxpayers, what is going to protect the taxpayers to the greatest extent. And I believe that by far the most important thing is addressing the questions that Richard Shelby and some others have asked. How do we make this work? How do we make this work so it's going to be effective, keep our economy going, keep capital flowing, and do something systemically? And to do something systemically the way we need to do that, I don't think that's the right way to go.
Let me just, there are many different mechanisms for trying to establish value. There are different ways. Some of them involve various kinds of co-pay type arrangements like you're describing. I think we need to go to experts. I've received a number of emails from world's leading auction experts saying we want to come work with you on this. The thing I would ask you to do is not to put in the legislation precisely how these mechanisms would work, because that would prevent us from using the advice of experts and the benefit of experience in this very novel type of situation to learn the best way to do it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good questions. Thank you very much, Senator. Senator Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for Mr. Lockhart and Secretary Paulson, if we could, Director Lockhart. When Fannie and Freddie were put into the conservatorship, one of the impacts that it has had has to do with the asset quality of the equity capital of America's banks. And I'm talking now about Main Street banks. I'm talking about community banks. Apparently about 11% of their core equity capital was involved in these.
I'm Bob Pisani down at the New York Stock Exchange, where stocks are at their lows for the day. There's two problems. One, you're hearing them right on our air. The devil's in the details, uncertainty about the outcome of this Treasury bill. And secondly, the fundamentals of the global economy. The weak stocks right now are material stocks and industrials, as traders bet that the global economy is going to slow down regardless of the outcome of these hearings. S&P low last week was 1156. We're only 40 points away from that. The bulls need to put up a little more of a fight here, or there's going to be some real disappointment at the close. Let's go back to the hearings.
And so forth. are being impacted by this in a much greater way than was initially anticipated. So the question is, how could we restore the value of these assets to these banks, and when would dividend payments begin again, and how do we deal with this unintended consequence of the conservatorship?
Well, Fannie and Freddie had about $35 billion of preferred outstanding. It was held across the board, but there was a concentration in banks and sometimes in smaller banks. It was something that was considered at the time, and the view was that we needed to conserve Freddie and Fannie and those.
We'll take a quick break, and then we will come back, listen in once again to the question and answer session on Capitol Hill with the Senate Banking Committee. Power Lunch is back in a moment.
Stop the dividends. The preferreds are still in place.
You know all those swing tips you read about?
Yeah.
Keep your head down, keep your arms in, keep your knees flexed.
Uh-huh.
Well, forget about it. Just swing.
Northern Trust's cutting-edge technology, exceptional client service, and innovative solutions help you get what you want out of life. Northern Trust, asset management, asset servicing, wealth management.
Investment opportunities are all around you. Are you missing them? Commodities are everywhere. They're the fuel that drives us in nearly everything we taste, touch, or smell. What are you trading? Trade with the premier broker for commodity futures, Lind Waldock. Call us at 800-445-2000 or visit lindwaldock.com and start trading. Open an account today.
Today, a CNBC exclusive. Billionaire Sam Zell on the Wall Street bailout. He tells Maria what he thinks will work. Closing bell today, 4 Eastern.
Today, a new world on Wall Street. New systems, new rules, new trades. But there's still only one place to turn for fast money. CNBC 5 Eastern.
This is the AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan card. You know what's great about this card? Wherever you go, nationwide, your coverage travels with you. And that's just one of the many reasons you need the card you can trust. Because with AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plans, you can apply year-round, talk with personal health insurance advisors, and so much more. If you're turning 65 or older, or you've already enrolled in a Medicare supplement plan, call for this free information kit and Medicare guide. These are the only Medicare supplement insurance plans exclusively endorsed by AARP. These plans, insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company, help cover some of your medical expenses not covered by Medicare alone. This could save you thousands of dollars. Want your choice of doctors or hospitals, virtually no claim forms, and no referrals needed to see a specialist? Call for your free kit. Yep, this is one great card.
The destruction of some of the most storied franchises on Wall Street.
More people turn to CNBC and CNBC.com than ever before to keep their money safe.
They are seeing huge business once again.
Stay with the people you trust for the answers you need. CNBC.
Back with our coverage of the questioning before the Senate Banking Committee. While we were gone, an issue very dear to the hearts of those people who may be holding preferred shares of Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, and whether or not they will be made whole, and Fed Chairman Bernanke is hard-pressed to give a definitive answer at this point.
Well, we'll be working with the banks to work on those issues. But what does that mean? Because here's the key thing. Regulators were in those banks a month before saying that preferred was Tier 1 capital, 100 cents on the dollar. A month later, it goes to almost nothing, and that's a problem.
Paulson addressed this the day that he came out and held that extraordinary news conference, saying that a number of the regional banks have exposure to the preferred shares, and we will be working with them on that. We talked about this before, Michelle. It kind of opens up a Pandora's box. If you're going to work with some of those banks who hold the preferred shares, the individual shareholder is sitting there saying, well, hey, what about me?
The problem is this turns into a grab bag, a gimme grab bag. What we need is to quell crisis and liquefy the markets. 2,300 banks, a quarter of the nation's total, lost $10 to $15 billion when Fannie and Freddie got taken over by government. 10 to 15 billion. We're talking about $700 billion risk here. It really isn't the biggest part of the problem. But once one thing that's really hurting us is this participation by the Fed. Let the Feds take an equity stake in banks that want to come to us and sell us their bad debt. It's not participation, it's confiscation. It's like doing business with the Sopranos, and I don't like it.
They've given up $700 billion if you ran a private equity fund of